Grace and peace to you, friends. And this week I am at Yellowstone National Park. And we got here last night and then we woke up really early this morning at 4 a.m. and we drove here to the park. We haven't seen anybody. We've hiked 3 miles thus far on a really narrow trail. We caught the sunrise and we came here to Ribbon Lake. It's a beautiful lake, and on the other side of these trees is what they call the Grand Canyon of Yellowstone. We're going to go there soon. And this week I am talking about Exodus chapter 32, verses 7 through 14. It's the Israelites, it's God's people in the wilderness. This is a really appropriate place for that. But they sort of have gone astray. Their fear has gotten the best of them. And so I invite you to take this journey with me this week and to hear this word of the Lord from Exodus chapter 32. And the Lord said to Moses, "Go down, for your people, whom you have brought up out of the land of Egypt, have corrupted themselves. They have turned aside quickly out of the way that I commanded them. They have made for themselves a golden calf, and have worshipped it, and sacrificed to it, and said, 'These are your gods, O Israel, who brought you up out of the land of Egypt.' And the Lord said to Moses, 'I have seen this people, and behold, it is a stiff-necked people. Now therefore, let me alone, that my wrath may burn hot against them, and I may consume them, in order that I may make a great nation of you.' But Moses implored the Lord his God and said, 'O Lord, why does your wrath burn hot against your people, whom you have brought out of the land of Egypt with great power, with a mighty hand? Why should the Egyptians say, with evil intent, did he bring them out to kill them in the mountains and to consume them with the face of the earth? Turn from your burning anger and relent from this disaster against your people. Remember Abraham, Isaac, and Israel, your servants, to whom you swore by your own self, and said to them, I will multiply your offspring as the stars of the heaven, and all this land that I have promised I will give to your offspring, and they shall inherit it forever.' And the Lord relented from the disaster that he had spoken of bringing on his people." Okay, now we've been to the canyons, we've gone to the geysers, we've been soaked by the geysers, we've been to the Grand Prismatic Springs, these beautiful, colorful, sort of hot springs that are always steaming. We've hiked over 20 miles, and now I am cooling my feet down here in the beautiful Madison River that runs through the heart of Yellowstone. It's kind of away from all the chaos. It's a good place to think about the scripture. Today's passage, you have 3 characters. You have God, you have Moses, and you have God's people. And in the story, in their fear, God's people, because even though they've been freed from slavery, they are worried about their daily substance. They're worried they won't get enough food and enough water, and in their fear, they turn to a false god, a gaudy god, a stagnant god. And this god provides them nothing. This god just looks good. It's a gaudy god. And they build a golden statue to this god, and they don't see where Moses is. They don't see God, obviously. And so in their fear, they don't know who to turn to, so they make a false god. God gets angry. Moses talks God out of it. God comes back and says, you know what? I made a promise to Abraham not to destroy you, but to make you prosper. So he does. He keeps that promise, and he makes them prosper. But I want to focus today on God's people for a moment, because I see a lot of similarities between us and these people. You know, they're in the wilderness, and up until Exodus 32, there are 2 words they never said. God's people are constantly talking to Moses and to God, and never at any point did they ever say slavery and freedom. They never said slavery and they never said freedom. They talked about Egypt, they talked about what's going to happen today and where do we get our food, but they never looked at the bigger picture. God came down and delivered them from slavery, and they don't have that in mind. they're still thinking about all the small things, and those small things are causing them fear and anxiety, and they're thinking about the worst possible scenario, starving to death. Watching children and the elderly die first, and starving in the wilderness and having nothing to do and having nothing to be able to provide them. And so what they do is they build this false god in their fear and anxiety after entertaining the worst possible scenario. And now we're at Grand Tetons National Park, and this is Jenny Lake. This is a beautiful 7-mile wide across lake here. It's gorgeous. We actually took a boat all the way across here, and you can hike all the way around it at 7 miles, and we're going to do that. And right now we're hiking up this mountain here. We're going to climb down and go into the Cascade Canyon Trail. We're really excited to do that. But this is called Inspiration Point right here. It's a good place to sort of sit and think and ponder. And in thinking about fear, with the Israelites and God's people, they made a decision based upon fear. Fear often has the worst fruit. We were thinking a lot about our fear this week of bears, because everywhere you go in this place, they're talking about bears and what to do if you see a bear. Rangers are saying don't come near bears, back away if you see one. So there's like a whole protocol about what to do when you see a bear. If you see one, you slowly back away. If they come towards you, you lay on the ground with your stomach first so that they can't cut you on the front. And if they begin to attack you, they tell you to actually fight the bear back. I don't know if that's a thing that I can do. And so we've been pondering in that situation, could we do that in our fear? I saw a couple on the trail. We had just been hiking a while, and they asked us if there were any bears in the trail, and I told them no, we didn't see any bears. The bears are at higher elevations, and they said okay, well, we're not going to do it anyway. It's too scary. It's too scary. Next time we saw them, they were in their car leaving. They just couldn't do it. In truth, there's only one bear attack per year at Yellowstone National Park, and it's very, very rare, but you entertain the worst possible scenarios. It's so human nature to entertain the very worst possible scenarios. We do that a lot. God's people, they were doing that. They weren't thinking about how God delivered them from slavery. They were thinking about the immediate. They were thinking about the fact that they didn't have any food, they didn't have any water. They were entertaining what if we starve to death? We have to watch the younger ones and the elderly die. What happens if that happens? And so in their fear and their anxiety, they made a terrible decision. They created a golden god, a gaudy god, a do-nothing god. This god did nothing for them, had done nothing for them in the past. It was just a statue, a golden statue. And they turned away from God in their fear. And so fear has the very worst fruit. And in this story, that's a lesson for us here. But then when you look ahead centuries later to Christ recognizes that fear in others. And he says, look, there's an alternative to fear. There's faith. When you base your decisions based on the faith, you live within your values. You live within the character and the promises of God. But when you make your decisions based upon fear, you step away from your values. You step away from the promises and the character of God. Faith has wonderful fruit. Fear doesn't. And so what kind of decisions are you making today? Are you making decisions of faith or decisions of fear?